it appears that there is going to be a disparity in the effectiveness in preventing COVID disease between the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and the other vaccines. So the concern out there amongst many is that with there being a disparity in effectiveness, that perhaps the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is going to be used disproportionately in disadvantaged and marginalized communities. And part of the concern is that some people in those communities are more difficult to reach, and it's easier just to give them one dose, and all different reasons to make the Johnson & Johnson perhaps a better vaccine choice in certain circumstances. But there's a lot of concern out there that those specifics will be generalized for a broader population, and that certain whole communities may get this Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Some of the most impacted communities, Black people, people of color, Hispanic people that are already being afflicted with COVID more than Caucasian people, that there is going to be some potential disparity between the vaccine distribution and then again the effects that are happening in those communities long term. So with those concerns that are out there, some of the health experts are saying, well, you really need to look at the most important figures, and the most important figures are that with all of the vaccines, including the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, there was no need for hospitalization and no deaths reported in any of the trials. So based on that all of these vaccines are 100% effective, so to speak, at preventing hospitalization and preventing death, at least by the trial numbers. And so that's what people should be thinking about, and then they should embrace the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And what I'm going to be sharing with the committee, as I shared with them in the application to them, is that really is diminishing the non-life-threatening impacts of COVID that are happening in these communities already. With the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, looking at a 72% effectiveness rate, it would appear that there's going to be much more sickness endemic, inherent amongst the population of people that are getting that vaccine, that there's going to be more, even if it's not severe and even if it doesn't lead to death, there will be mild to moderate sickness amongst that group. Statistically, it would appear more than the Pfizer or Moderna vaccines. So again, this sickness translates in people's lives to missing work, right? To potentially having long hauler symptoms, to potentially infecting others in their family unit that haven't gotten the vaccine. So in terms of impact in communities, and in particular marginalized communities, to be using a vaccine that is known to allow more sickness to exist within the community is a very important issue that absolutely needs to be addressed by the FDA, by the CDC, by everyone who's approving and recommending how this vaccine gets used. So what I'm sharing with the FDA is that really when they talk about helping the public get accurate science-based information that they need to use medical products, that they consider these vaccines those medical products, and that they provide the information that those people need in order to know how to use them effectively to maintain and improve their health. And that in many cases, for those people, it would be making the choice, if they had a choice, to get a Pfizer or Moderna vaccine rather than a choice to get a Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and that this information be very clear and upfront with people, and perhaps even built into the guidance that it has to be a choice, that no one can be forced to get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine without choosing it for themselves, and give people a choice. Maybe a lot of people would love to get the one-shot dose and they're done and that's fine, or there's other reasons that they would like it because they can get it sooner. Allow those people to get it, but don't force people to necessarily get that vaccine because that's the only one that's available in their neighborhood. That, I think, is the big concern that exists out there a lot. And the last impact that I'll mention about it is the long-lasting impact on trust and confidence in the institutions. We already know about the vaccine hesitancy that's out there, and we already know that there's a significant amount of vaccine hesitancy amongst different populations because of, for example, the Tuskegee experiments and the other issues that are out there historically. If this happens, if Black, brown, marginalized communities anywhere start to receive the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and start to have worse outcomes in their communities, in part due to the fact that they've received a vaccine that's not protecting the community at the same level that other communities are being protected, then that is further going to erode, if not blow up, the last bit of trust that there may be for those populations and the FDA, the CDC. And that if those institutions want to be committed to the highest level of vaccine coverage in the country, to the lowest level of vaccine hesitancy, then they are going to make sure institutionally that this cannot happen, where health disparities that already exist in the population are going to be exacerbated by lack of vaccine choice and potentially vaccine results that aren't as good as other communities are receiving. So I think that it's absolutely critical and mission critical for the FDA and CDC and others to provide this type of information, to not pretend like all the vaccines are the same and you should just get whatever one comes to you and be happy about it. That's really not being science-based. You know, if they want to be science-based, then they're going to be real with people about what the differences are and the impacts are, because there's real differences, and that can't be denied, you know, scientifically.